This is Breakthroughs, a podcast from Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine. I'm Erin Spain, Communications Director at Feinberg. Scientists at Northwestern are embarking on an ambitious era of kidney disease research. In the new Lewis A. Simpson and Kimberly K. Querrey Biomedical Research Center here on our Chicago campus, tiny bioartificial kidneys are growing in the lab of Dr. Susan Quaggin. She and her team of scientists with expertise in stem cells, blood vessels, and developmental biology have plans to accelerate the development of such bioengineered organs. But that's not all. Dr. Quaggin is here to talk about the projects and science underway that could lead to new treatments to prevent, manage, and cure kidney disease. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Erin. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, you have been at Northwestern now for several years. You're the chief of nephrology here at Northwestern. You're the director of the Feinberg Cardiovascular and Renal Research Institute, and most recently, the director of the new Northwestern George M. OBrien Kidney Core Center, which we know as NU Go Kidney. Tell me about your path here to Northwestern and your path to nephrology.
It's been a fun journey, I have to say. I've been here at Northwestern now for just over 6 years. It feels like home. I can't imagine being anywhere else. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, and did most of my training there. The path to nephrology was an easy one. I didn't know when I entered medical school what I would choose to specialize in, but my first day as an intern was on the nephrology wards, and one of the very first patients I met in the emergency room was an 18-year-old boy. He had been perfectly healthy up until a couple of weeks prior and then had gained about 20 pounds of weight, and this was all fluid. And it turned out that the reason he had gained all this fluid, he had a very aggressive form of a kidney disease, something circulating in his bloodstream that was attacking the glomeruli, or the little kidney filters that are present in the kidney. This made his kidneys very leaky, and they lost protein in the urine, and he developed edema. At that time, we admitted him to hospital. We did a kidney biopsy. We were able to give him this diagnosis, but there were no treatments available. It's patients like him that really inspired me to pursue nephrology as a career, not only because of the patients and the mentors I met along the way, but because of the big opportunity and need to fill some of those gaps in diagnosis and treatment. So that was approximately 30 years ago, I think, and I have not looked back.
And you said there was no cure for this, and that is the thing with kidney disease. There's 850 million people worldwide have it, but there aren't really good cures right now. How is kidney disease treated at the moment?
Yeah, so kidney disease is actually kidney diseases. So 850 million people with impaired kidney function have varying causes of the kidney disease. The most common causes are diabetes, so high blood sugar, and high blood pressure. And those are two things that you can get checked out at your doctor's office. And you need to get that checked out to make sure, get them managed properly so you can prevent the development of kidney disease. However, there's many, many other causes of kidney disease. We, over the past 20 years, have an incredible increased understanding of what some of the causes are, some of the special genes, the molecular pathways, and there are even being development of some very highly sophisticated new drugs and medications that are either in the clinic or about to launch in the clinic. One incredibly exciting advance over the last year has been the recognition that a new class of medications that target the kidney, a little glucose or sugar transporter in the kidney, can dramatically slow the development of kidney disease due to diabetes. This was a paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it's going to transform the way we manage our patients. So what I like to say to all the residents, house staff, and patients is that we are now entering the era, a new era for kidney disease, where we're going to see incredible advances. A very, very exciting time for our patients and for us as caregivers.
And you said everyone does need to be aware of kidney disease because of the diseases like diabetes that are so more prevalent now, does make you more at risk.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big issues with kidney disease, I mean, how many people know that 1 out of 7 Americans have kidney disease? Most people don't know. It's one of those silent diseases that unless you get it checked at the doctor's office, you may not know. So it's really important for us to get the word out that you need to get your kidneys checked and that this is a really big problem.
You mentioned this exciting news about a new drug that could possibly be getting into clinic soon. Another exciting area is, as we mentioned, you're growing kidneys in your lab. And this is a project that's of great interest to many because it could be a game changer for people with kidney disease because transplant is, for some people, often the best option. But there's a shortage of kidneys available for transplant. Just tell me a little bit about kidney transplants now and why the kidneys you're growing in the lab are of such interest.
Right. So if your kidney disease progresses to end stage or to kidney failure, transplant is the best option. However, as you mentioned, the wait list for transplant is extremely long. It's many years, and some people can't even get a transplant or don't make it to the time of a transplant. The other issue about kidney transplants or any organ transplant is you need to take medications to prevent your own body from rejecting them. So the big excitement about bioengineered organs, which are not ready for prime time yet, however, would be to provide more organs available so that the wait list no longer exists, and also the ability to be able to make them so that they are not rejected by the body. So ultimately, one day, you wouldn't even need to take medications if you were to have these organs.
You're working on a very important piece of this, which is has to do with blood vessels. And explain that to me, this next step in your lab of sort of taking it from, yes, we can grow these in a dish, to how can we actually make them attach with blood vessels?
Sure. So, I think the really cool thing about growing these miniature kidneys in a dish, which many or a number of labs around the world can do, we can actually grow them from a patient's own skin cells, or even spin down the urine and have some cells, put them in a little dish, add a cocktail of ingredients, and turn them or coax them into turning into these miniature, very tiny kidneys. So that's a huge advance. It's been a major breakthrough. But one of the big limiting factors right now is that there are no blood vessels in these mini kidneys in a dish. So I like to use the analogy, it's sort of like a toaster without a plug. So if you think about the miniature kidney as being the toaster, without the blood vessels, there's no plug, so it can't function. We can't hook it up to the rest of the body. So one of the things that we've been working on in the lab, and for many years, we've been very interested in the blood vessels that play very specific roles in the kidney. So we've done a lot of background work, and now the goal with some very talented young trainees and other individuals in the lab is to really coax those blood vessels into these miniature kidneys, with the ultimate goal of having these functional bioengineered kidneys.
And what sort of technology are you using in the lab to do that?
Yeah, so taking a number of different approaches, but one of the approaches that we've spent a lot of time optimizing is CRISPR-Cas9, which has made it into the general lay press. CRISPR-Cas9 is a way of genome editing, and it's very efficient, and it allows us to cut and paste genes and to do it in a very quick and effective manner. So the idea is to use genome editing in these bioengineered kidneys in a dish, or in the cells that give rise to the kidneys, so that they can drive and give the instructions for the blood vessels to make it to the right place and to pattern these kidneys properly.
How many people do you have working on that project right now?
So there's a few in my lab who are working on this project, a couple of very talented young nephrologists. In addition, one of my colleagues, who's also a major, who does a lot of work with the OBrien Kidney Center and is a transplant surgeon here at Northwestern, Jason Wertheim. We do a lot of things together. And in his group, they're taking a number of different approaches to enhance these bioengineered kidneys and also to make them work. So I think there's a relatively large group working on these sorts of projects and tackling them together in a collaborative manner here at Northwestern.
And it has to be pretty satisfying for you as well, because you are a clinician as well as a scientist. You see these patients who are suffering with disease, and to be able to go back into the lab, I'm sure that is pretty powerful for you.
Yeah. So actually, this morning I was meeting with a group of young summer students. We have high school students in who are all pursuing kidney projects. And one of the questions that they asked, what is it that makes you, happy and love to come to work every day? And you hit that nail on the head, Erin. It's the patients. And the only reason I went into the lab in the first place was to try and help fill those gaps in delivering better care for our patients.
Well, Northwestern is home to one of 8 NIH-funded George M. O'Brien Kidney Core Centers in the country. How has the center accelerated the work being done at Northwestern with kidneys, and what can we expect from the center in the future?
We're very excited about this center, and something I'm very passionate about. As you mentioned, it's only one of 8, and our center was built on a very lofty goal. So our overarching theme is to develop new therapeutics to diagnose, prevent, and cure kidney diseases. And it is a partnership across both campuses of Northwestern, so the medical school, but also heavily embedded in the Evanston undergraduate campus with the Chemistry of Life Processes Institute. So it involves clinicians. We have patient advocates on our executive board. We have chemists. We have nanomedicine folks. And really the sky's the limit. We're trying to bring in people from outside Northwestern to understand what resources we have to tackle questions about kidney disease. Many people might have a terrific idea about what might cause kidney disease or how they might want to treat it, but they don't know how to take it further. So this O'Brien Kidney Center is geared to provide the expertise, almost concierge-like service, to help investigators, physicians understand how they can move the project forward. We're also offering pilot funding and helping move through commercialization. So it's sort of the whole spectrum from beginning to patients.
And it really does put Northwestern on the map as a place that is doing some pretty aggressive research in the area of kidneys.
Yeah, we like to say we're pretty aggressive, even as a Canadian and a big hockey fanatic. Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's a transformative time for kidney research, and I see us on the brink of incredible advances. And it really does require a village, a globe to, with one goal to end kidney disease. So we're so excited to be part of this and to be part of the O'Brien network.
So some people may be surprised to know your research actually goes beyond kidney disease. There's other diseases that you are studying, and one of them has been focused on uncovering the genetic roots of congenital glaucoma. Tell me about that. Completely another disease you're working on.
So the lab has really focused on blood vessels and the vasculature. And sometimes along the way, there are serendipitous findings. And I also like to tell my kidney colleagues that what's good for the eye is good for the kidney. So lots of kidney diseases also have eye diseases. And our ophthalmology colleagues here at Northwestern would also say the same. So along the way, you're right. We identified in some of our genetic mouse models that they developed a very severe form of glaucoma. And our ophthalmology colleagues here and vision engineers up in Evanston, together, we very rapidly were able to identify this as a cause of a major blood vessel abnormality in the front of the eye. And with collaborations in Wisconsin and throughout the world, identify many families, approximately 20 now, who have mutations in this pathway as well. So this has led us, together with the nanomedicine folks up on Evanston and the chemistry folks, to develop a biotech company. We have new lead compounds, an eye drop in development to treat this severe form of glaucoma and also some of the more common forms of glaucoma, with the hope that we'll be able to preserve vision. What's interesting, the same small molecule we are actually repurposing for the kidney, and it protects the kidney as well. So as I said,
it does come all back to the kidney.
Okay, I'm a little biased for sure, but but a lot of commonalities between the two.
Well, something else that I think is very exciting, you and about a couple hundred other scientists have just moved your labs into our brand new Lewis A. Simpson and Kimberly K. Querrey Biomedical Research Center. How are you liking the new building and your new lab space?
So I think you can see the smile on my face.
Yes.
It is unbelievable. And I joke with my husband that I might just move into my office. It's so beautiful. But the building itself is spectacular. The light, the architectural features, the way that the lab flows work, it's all open space. But I think the most exciting part of it is that it brings together people with different perspectives, scientists from different backgrounds, different clinical interests. We meet in the common spaces, and already new collaborations have started to flourish. I think they're going to explode in this building because it's just by random motion, and it's really an incredible and will be transformative for research here at Northwestern.
You mentioned the light. The building is so much glass. Everywhere you look is glass. And how is that different than other labs that you've worked in your career?
Well, I started out, my first lab was a closet, which had no window. It was fun. It was great. But no, I think the way that they've have the windows along the outside. All the trainees have their desks directly adjacent to full floor-to-ceiling glass, allowing them to the sunlight is just one of the big positive things about coming to work, but it also allows them to eat and drink at their desk, which is not permitted inside, a biochemical or a biological laboratory. You just have to come by and walk through it.
And there is a certain energy in there. I mean, the building just opened. It's only a couple months old, but walking through, you can just tell that there's special things happening around every corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the elevators, I mean, people are talking. You go up in the elevator and you're meeting new people. Our pediatric researchers who were up in Lincoln Park have all moved down. It's a huge influx of talent. And I think incredible things are going to happen.
Well, we will be checking in with you in the future as you continue creating some new projects and stumbling across others. And it is very exciting work that you're doing at the center.
Thanks, Erin. It's really an incredible team there, and I'm just honored to get to work with them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan Quaggin, for coming on the podcast and sharing some of your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Erin.
If you're a physician who listens to this podcast, you can apply for CME credit just by listening. Go to our website, feinberg.northwestern.edu, and search CME. And if you're a fan of the podcast, go to Apple Podcasts and rate us.